The rain had been falling for hours, turning the small settlement into a maze of glistening streets and puddles that reflected the dim lights above. Kai pulled his coat tighter around himself as he walked home from the workshop, the cold dripping into his bones. Most nights were quiet, almost empty, but tonight the air seemed heavier, filled with an unspoken tension. He noticed movement at the edge of the street, a figure hunched and shivering under the weak shelter of a broken sign. As he approached, he realized it was a girl. She was wet from head to toe, her hair plastered to her face and her skin glowed faintly under the pale streetlights. A soft shimmer like moonlight on water. No human he knew had ever looked like that. Kai hesitated, unsure if he should call someone or keep walking. But something in her eyes stopped him. They were large, luminous, and full of fear. There was also a strange sadness there, as if she had carried centuries of memories alone. "Hey, are you okay?" Kai asked gently, trying not to startle her. She didn't answer at first. She only tilted her head slightly and looked at him, her glowing eyes scanning him as though deciding whether to trust him. Kai knelt down and offered his jacket. "Here, take this. You look frozen." Slowly, she took it. Her hands were small, almost fragile, and warm in a strange way, as if there was life pulsing inside them that didn't belong to this world. She wrapped the jacket around herself but didn't speak. Her lips moved slightly, forming words in a language he didn't understand, soft sounds that seemed to hum in the air. Kai thought about calling the authorities, but a voice in his head stopped him. Something told him she needed him to stay quiet. He looked at her, noticing the way her glowing skin dimmed slightly when she shivered. He didn't know what she was or why she was here, but he felt a responsibility he couldn't explain. "Come with me," he said softly. "I have a place you can stay for the night." She hesitated, but after a long pause, she followed. Each step she took was careful, almost cautious, like she had never walked on Earth before. As they entered his small apartment, the warm air from inside made her shiver stop. Kai offered her a seat and a dry towel. She accepted it silently, still observing him with those strange, reflective eyes. Kai prepared some tea while she sat quietly. He stole glances at her, noticing the subtle changes in her glow. It seemed to pulse with her breathing, faint and soft as if it were alive. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions, but her eyes followed him everywhere, curious but cautious. Kai felt a mixture of wonder and fear. He had never met anyone like her. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft and melodic, carrying a strange accent that made every word feel foreign yet beautiful. "Thank you," she said, her glowing eyes fixed on his. There was no fear in her voice now, only a quiet relief. "You don't need to say anything else tonight," Kai replied. "Just rest." He showed her to the guest room, a small space with a bed, a lamp, and a window that overlooked the quiet street. She hesitated at the doorway, her gaze flicking to the bed, then back to him. There was something unreadable in her expression, vulnerability but also determination. Finally, she stepped inside and lay down, curling under the blanket. Her glow dimmed as she relaxed, blending into the ordinary room. But Kai noticed the warmth that radiated from her body. It wasn't just heat, it felt like a pulse of life, soft and calming. Kai closed the door and leaned against it, staring at the faint shimmer that still lingered in the room. He felt a strange connection, like the universe had placed this mysterious being in his life for a reason. The rain continued outside, pattering against the windows, but inside, there was a quiet warmth that defied the storm. Hours later, Kai awoke and realized something strange. The bed felt warmer than it should have. Not like a human's warmth, but softer, deeper, almost as if it carried a life of its own. He frowned, confused, and looked around. The girl was asleep, her small frame curled under the blanket, her glow faint and steady. He didn't understand it, and he didn't know how she did it, but he felt a flicker of hope. Someone or something had arrived in his life. Different and strange, yet familiar in a way that made his chest ache. Kai didn't know who she was or why she had come, but for the first time in a long while he felt that he wasn't alone. And as the rain fell outside, he realized that this night was just the beginning of something he could never have imagined. The morning sun spilled weakly through the curtains, but inside Kai's apartment the air felt heavy with quiet tension. The alien girl lay still on the bed, her glow faint but steady, like a dying ember that refused to vanish. Kai had made breakfast quietly, trying not to disturb her. He had so many questions swirling in his mind. Where she came from, why she was here, and what kind of being could shine like that. Yet he didn't ask. Some things, he sensed, were meant to be discovered slowly, with trust, not fear. When she finally stirred, Kai noticed her eyes flicker with that same strange light, curious and cautious. She didn't speak at first, just observed him quietly as he poured tea into 2 cups. There was a grace in her movements, almost like she had studied every human habit, yet every motion was slightly off. Alien, but somehow familiar. "Good morning," Kai said softly, handing her a cup. She accepted it without a word, curling her fingers around the warmth as if it were a lifeline. She sipped the tea slowly, eyes never leaving his. Then, almost hesitantly, she said, "I need warmth." Kai paused. He didn't understand what she meant. "Warmth?" he asked gently. She nodded, her glow flickering. "It keeps me alive." A shiver ran through him. He had suspected she was different, but hearing her speak like that, simple words carrying a life-or-death weight, made it real. "I'll keep you warm," he said instinctively. "You're safe here. You don't have to be afraid." For the first time, her lips curved into a small smile, faint but genuine. There was something fragile in that smile, like the first flower blooming after a long winter. Kai felt a strange pull in his chest, a mix of empathy and curiosity that he had never experienced before. The day passed slowly. She followed him around quietly as he worked on small repairs in his apartment, fixing a broken chair, tightening a loose shelf, humming softly in that strange melodic way. Every sound she made seemed to resonate in the air, subtle but alive. Kai began to notice small things. How she would tilt her head slightly when confused, how her glow would brighten slightly when she laughed, and most of all, how the bed he had left her in the night before remained warm long after she had gotten up. That evening, while Kai prepared a simple dinner, he felt the weight of her eyes on him. She didn't ask questions about his life, didn't probe. She simply watched, as though learning the rhythms of human existence. And yet there was a tension in her posture, a hidden urgency he could not name. Finally, he broke the silence. "You don't have to hide from me." "You can tell me anything." She froze, then looked away. Her glow dimmed slightly, as if retreating into herself. "I cannot," she whispered. Her voice was soft but firm. "If anyone knows, they will take me. I cannot let them." Kai's heart tightened. He understood now that this warmth she relied on, the night she spent in his bed, it wasn't comfort alone. It was survival. She had come to him because she trusted him, and if that trust was broken, everything could be lost. He felt a fierce protectiveness rising within him, stronger than fear, stronger than logic. "I won't let anyone take you," he said firmly, kneeling beside her on the floor. "No one, you're safe here no matter what." Her eyes met his, wide and luminous. For a moment, there was silence between them, filled only with the hum of the apartment and the distant sounds of the rain returning outside. Then, almost imperceptibly, she leaned closer, resting her hand lightly on his arm. The glow of her skin warmed his fingers in a way that felt almost alive, pulsing softly. "You trust me?" Kai asked quietly. Her nod was slow, deliberate, almost painful in its honesty. "Yes," she breathed, "I trust you." The rest of the night passed in quiet companionship. They didn't speak much, but the small gestures, the way she shifted closer to the warmth of his body, the way he brushed a strand of wet hair from her glowing face, spoke volumes. Kai realized that trust wasn't just given, it was nurtured, earned slowly through understanding, patience, and care. As he watched her finally drift into sleep, curled safely under the blankets, Kai felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. This mysterious being, so fragile and powerful at the same time, had chosen him. He didn't know why or for how long, but he understood one thing clearly. Her secret was hers to keep, but her survival and her trust was now his to protect. And in that quiet room, with the rain pattering softly against the windows, Kai felt something shift inside him. He was no longer alone in the world. Somehow, in the presence of this alien girl, he had found purpose, connection, and a story that was only just beginning. Days passed in a rhythm that was both ordinary and extraordinary. Kai went about his daily life, working at his small workshop repairing machines and gadgets, while the alien girl followed him quietly, observing every motion, learning every sound. She rarely spoke, yet her presence was constant, a gentle hum that filled the empty corners of his apartment. Kai noticed small, strange habits. She would tilt her head to one side when curious, her luminous eyes scanning things humans took for granted. She seemed fascinated by ordinary objects, a mug, a book, a simple lamp. Sometimes she would reach out a delicate hand and touch them, her glow pulsing faintly as if the objects themselves responded to her presence. The warmth in his bed continued to be a mystery. Each night it was slightly warmer than it should have been, soft and comforting in a way that reminded him of home. It was more than heat. It carried life, a quiet reassurance that someone was there, relying on him, trusting him. One evening, as the sky turned deep orange with sunset, Kai found her at the window, staring out at the streets below. Rain was falling again, a soft drizzle that made the world outside shimmer. She didn't turn when he entered the room. She didn't speak. She just stood there, glowing faintly, a fragile figure bathed in the dying light. "Do you like it here?" he asked quietly. His voice broke the silence, but she didn't respond immediately. It is different," she whispered finally, her words careful as if choosing each one was a task. "Humans, they are kind." Kai felt a warmth in his chest, stronger than the glow she carried. Kindness. That was something she could see, something she could feel. He realized that despite her otherworldly nature, she understood the simplest truths: trust, safety, and the small gestures that made life worth living. Over the next few days, their bond deepened in subtle ways. She began helping him with his work in small ways, passing tools, adjusting tiny screws, or offering a quiet suggestion. Her knowledge of human mechanics was surprisingly intuitive, though she sometimes misjudged things in ways that made Kai smile. "Careful," he would warn gently. "That's not how humans usually do it." She would laugh softly, a sound like wind chimes caught in a gentle breeze. It was a sound that lingered, warm and alive, and it made Kai feel more awake than he had in years. Every glance, every gesture, every soft laugh became a thread connecting them. Yet there was always the lingering tension. At times she would vanish for hours without explanation, leaving him worried and restless. When she returned, her glow was slightly dimmer, her gaze distant. He knew she carried secrets he could not touch, burdens heavier than anything he had faced, but he didn't push. He had learned that some things needed time and patience. Trust could not be forced. One night, Kai returned from the workshop to find her lying on the bed staring at the ceiling. Her glow was brighter than usual, reflecting the moonlight through the window. She didn't move when he entered, but he noticed her small hand reaching out slightly, as if inviting him without words. He sat beside her, careful not to crowd her space. "You don't have to carry it all alone," he said softly. "Whatever it is, we can face it together." She turned her head slightly, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and gratitude. "I cannot let anyone see me," she murmured. "If they know, they will take me." Kai's heart ached. He understood now that the warmth she radiated, the nights she spent in his bed, was not a comfort she sought for pleasure, but a survival strategy. He realized the depth of her trust and the immense responsibility it placed on him. He was her shield in a world that might never accept her. For the first time, he reached out, placing a hand gently over hers. The warmth that flowed from her hand was astonishing, almost alive, pulsing in rhythm with her quiet breaths. It was more than heat. It was life itself, fragile and precious. "I won't let anyone hurt you," he said, his voice steady, filled with conviction. "You are safe here, always." Her glow flickered brighter and steadier this time, as if responding to his words. She leaned slightly closer, resting her head near his arm. No words were spoken, yet the silence between them was filled with understanding, trust, and the unspoken promise of protection. Kai realized something profound. The world outside might not accept her, but within these walls they had created a sanctuary. In this quiet companionship, both human and alien were learning the essence of connection, patience, and the fragile strength of trust. And in that moment, Kai understood that life had a strange way of offering unexpected gifts. The girl, so mysterious and alien, had brought warmth to his world, not just in body but in heart and spirit. For both of them, this was only the beginning of a story neither could yet fully comprehend. Yet both were ready to live together, step by careful step. The storm came suddenly. Rain pounded against the windows, drumming a relentless rhythm that filled the apartment. Thunder shook the walls and flashes of lightning painted the room in stark white. Kai had never liked storms. They always reminded him of how fragile life could be. But tonight, with the alien girl in his apartment, the storm felt heavier somehow. He could sense her unease before he even saw it. She stood near the window, her small frame tense, her glow flickering with every rumble outside. Her hands gripped the windowsill as if holding herself together. Storms, she whispered, her voice soft and quivering. They are dangerous for me. Kai approached slowly, careful not to startle her. You're safe here, he said gently. I won't let anything happen to you. For a moment, she didn't move. Then, almost imperceptibly, she took a step toward him. Her glow pulsed faintly, and he realized she had been trying to protect herself, but more than that, she had been trying to protect him from the unknown, from the fear that came naturally with someone so different. The rain intensified, and a particularly loud thunderclap made her jump. Without thinking, Kai held out his hand. She hesitated, then placed her small hand in his. The warmth that radiated from her body was astonishing. Like a living flame, he felt it through her hand, a pulse of life, fragile yet strong. I cannot face it alone, she admitted, her voice barely audible. You don't have to, Kai replied softly. I'm here. We face it together. She looked up at him, her luminous eyes wide and filled with something he hadn't seen before. Trust, fear, and a deep longing all mixed together. Slowly, she lowered herself onto the bed beside him, her small body curled slightly, seeking the warmth that the human world could offer even though it was foreign to her. Kai sat on the edge of the bed at first, unsure. But when she shifted closer, resting her head near his arm, he realized that this was more than a moment of fear. It was a plea for connection, for safety, for understanding. Carefully, he lay down beside her, maintaining a respectful distance but letting his presence offer comfort. The storm raged on outside, but inside, a quiet bond formed. She pressed closer and he felt the glow of her body against his side. It was more than warmth, it was life, pulsing, steady, fragile. He didn't try to understand it fully. He didn't need to. He only needed to be there to let her feel safe. You trust me? He asked quietly, his voice barely audible over the storm. She nodded slowly, her glow brightening slightly, steadying like a candle in the wind. Yes, I trust you, she whispered. Kai felt a weight lift off his shoulders, but it was replaced by a deeper responsibility. He wasn't just keeping her safe from the world anymore. He was keeping her alive. Every pulse of warmth, every soft sigh she released against the sheets, reminded him of how fragile her existence was, and how fiercely he wanted to protect it. Hours passed. The storm began to wane, leaving only the soft patter of rain against the windows. Yet neither Kai nor the alien girl moved. She had curled against him, her small body warm and alive, and he had wrapped his arm around her, careful but protective. In that quiet shared space, words were unnecessary. The connection was beyond speech. It was trust, companionship, and the quiet triumph of human courage in offering sanctuary. At one point she spoke, her voice trembling slightly. I never thought humans could care like this. Not for me. Kai smiled softly, brushing a stray wet strand of glowing hair from her face. Humans can care, he said. Some of us and you've made me care in ways I never imagined. She pressed closer and he felt the steady warmth of her glow, the soft pulse of life mingling with his own heartbeat. In that small room with the storm outside and nothing but quiet companionship surrounding them, Kai understood something profound. Trust, love, and protection were more powerful than fear. By the time the rain slowed to a drizzle, they were still there, side by side, an alien and a human sharing warmth, safety, and the fragile bond of trust. Kai knew this night would change everything. It wasn't just a night of survival. It was the beginning of something neither of them had expected. A connection that could withstand storms, fear, and the unknown. And as she drifted into a peaceful sleep, her glow soft and steady against him, Kai felt a quiet sense of triumph. He had kept his promise, she was safe. And for the first time, he realized that in protecting her he had found a purpose he never thought he would know. The days after the storm were quiet, almost peaceful, but Kai couldn't shake the feeling that the world outside was closing in. Rumors had started spreading in the settlement. Strange lights, mysterious figures, whispers of something not human. Kai knew they were looking for her. though he didn't know who they really were. Whoever they were, they wouldn't understand her, wouldn't accept her, and that thought filled him with unease he could not ignore. He watched her one morning, sitting by the window, her glow soft and steady. She seemed so calm, but Kai knew better. He had seen the flicker of fear in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. He understood, now more than ever, that her survival depended on secrecy. Every glance from a stranger, every question asked too curiously, could be dangerous. "Kai," she said quietly, breaking the silence. "They will come. They always come." He felt a pang of helplessness in his chest. "Then we'll be ready," he said firmly. "I won't let them take you. I promise." She looked at him with wide, luminous eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and gratitude. "I trust you," she whispered, almost too softly to hear. "But if they find me, I cannot survive it." Kai swallowed hard. The weight of responsibility pressed on him like a heavy stone. He had protected her from small dangers before, but now the threat was real and it was bigger than anything he had faced. He thought about calling for help, but the truth was clear. No one could help without putting her at risk. This was something only he could handle. Over the next few days, Kai became vigilant. He watched the streets more carefully, listened to conversations, and noted any unusual visitors. He noticed strangers asking questions, people who lingered too long near the settlement, curious about the faint shimmer that occasionally flickered in the distance. His chest tightened every time he thought about what might happen if they discovered her secret. Meanwhile, the alien girl continued her quiet routines, helping him around the apartment, observing the world with those wide, luminous eyes. Yet, beneath the calm, Kai sensed a tension she could not hide. Sometimes she would disappear for hours, only to return and curl against him in the evening, seeking warmth and reassurance. He realized then that her warmth in his bed was more than survival. It was a silent plea for connection and protection. One evening, a loud knock at the door made both of them jump. Kai's heart pounded. He moved quickly, shielding her as he peered through the peephole. Two figures stood outside, strangers asking questions in the kind of polite, careful tone that hid sharp intentions. Fear clenched his chest. If they were here for her, he had to act. And he had to act now. Kai whispered to her, "Stay here. Don't show yourself." She nodded, her glow dimming as she sank lower into the blankets, trying to become invisible. Kai opened the door, his voice calm but firm. "Can I help you?" The strangers exchanged glances, their eyes scanning the apartment, but Kai did not flinch. He lied effortlessly, his voice steady. "Nobody's here right now, just me. You must have the wrong place." After a tense moment, they moved on, muttering under their breath. Kai closed the door and sank against it, relief flooding through him, but it was short-lived. He looked at her, curled on the bed, glowing softly. She had trusted him completely, and he had just risked everything to protect that trust. "You see?" he said softly. "This is why we have to be careful. I won't let anyone hurt you ever." She looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide and full of emotion. "You risked yourself for me." Kai smiled faintly, brushing a strand of her glowing hair from her face. "I would risk anything for you," he said, "because you're not just anyone. You're important. To me." Her glow pulsed slightly, brighter this time, steady and warm. It wasn't just survival, it was trust, connection, and the quiet assurance that even in a world that didn't understand her, someone cared enough to protect her. That night, as the rain returned softly, Kai lay beside her in the bed, careful but protective. The warmth she radiated mingled with his own, a living, breathing proof of the bond they had formed. Outside, the world might be dangerous, and threats might still come, but inside the apartment, they had each other. Kai realized then that courage wasn't about strength or weapons, it was about heart. Protecting someone who trusted you, even when the stakes were high, was the truest form of bravery. and he would not fail her. Not now, not ever. The days that followed were quieter, but the tension never fully disappeared. Kai and the alien girl moved carefully through each morning, each evening, each passing moment. Every sound outside, every shadow in the street, reminded them that the world could still intrude. But inside the apartment they had carved out a small sanctuary, a place where she could exist without fear and where Kai could watch over her. Kai noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She was more relaxed now, her glow steadier, her movements less tense. She laughed quietly while helping him prepare meals, and sometimes she even sang in that soft, melodic voice that made the apartment feel alive. But still she avoided mirrors, sunlight, and any attention that might reveal her. He understood. It wasn't vanity, it was survival. One evening, as they worked together repairing an old clock, she suddenly froze. Her luminous eyes widened, scanning the room. Kai followed her gaze and saw nothing, yet the tension in her posture made his heart tighten. She whispered almost to herself, "They are close." Kai took a deep breath. He realized it wasn't enough to hide her anymore. He had to protect her actively, not just passively. He had to stand for her. "We won't run," he said firmly, placing a hand over hers. Her glow pulsed slightly, and he could feel her trembling beneath his fingers. "We'll face this together." Her eyes searched his, seeking assurance, and when she saw the determination there, her small shoulders relaxed. "Together," she whispered, repeating his word like a promise. Kai spent the night preparing. He covered windows, hid signs of her presence, and thought through every possible way the outside world might try to find her. Each action felt heavy with responsibility. He wasn't just protecting her physically, he was defending her trust, her life, and her hope. When morning came, they sat together by the window, watching the settlement awaken. She leaned against him slightly, letting her warmth mingle with his own. Kai realized that the bond they shared was no longer just about survival. It was about companionship, about trust, and about courage. Every warmth she gave, every pulse of life in her small body, reminded him that he had a purpose greater than himself. "I never knew humans could be like this," she said softly, her glow steady now, filled with quiet wonder. "Not afraid, not cruel, willing to protect me even if it is dangerous." Kai smiled faintly, brushing her glowing hair from her face. "We are capable of more than fear," he said, "and you've taught me that courage isn't just fighting. It's protecting someone you care about, even when it's scary." Her glow brightened slightly, and she reached for his hand again. I never thought I would feel safe," she admitted. "Not anywhere. Not anywhere until now." Kai held her hand firmly, feeling the gentle warmth that had become a constant comfort. "You're safe with me," he said. "I promise. Always." The days turned into weeks. Kai and the alien girl found small rhythms in their shared life, cooking together, repairing broken items, sharing quiet moments of laughter. Each night, she would curl up in his bed, radiating warmth that was both comforting and alive. Kai no longer thought of it as strange. He thought of it as a testament to the trust between them, a bond stronger than any fear outside. But even in those peaceful moments, Kai remained vigilant. Every knock at the door, every stranger lingering too long, reminded him that the threat still existed. He had learned that courage wasn't about ignorance, it was about awareness and action, and he would act, no matter the cost, to keep her safe. One night as they lay together, the alien girl whispered, "I feel stronger here. Because of you." Kai held her close, letting the warmth of her glow fill him. "And I am stronger because of you," he said. "We protect each other, and that makes us both alive in ways the world doesn't understand." Her eyes closed, her glow steady, her trust absolute. In that quiet room with the rain tapping softly against the window, Kai realized that their sanctuary wasn't just a room. It was a promise that no matter what the outside world threw at them, they would stand together, protecting what was precious. defending what was fragile and embracing the warmth of life and trust that bound them. And in that quiet strength, Kai understood the deepest truth of all. Human courage wasn't about weapons or power. It was about heart. And tonight, they both had hearts strong enough to face the world. The world outside had grown quieter. The strangers who had once lingered near the settlement seemed to have moved on, distracted by their own pursuits. But inside Kai's apartment, life had not returned to normal. It had transformed into something extraordinary. The alien girl, once tense and fearful, now moved with a quiet confidence. Her glow was steady, bright, and calm. Yet Kai knew she remained aware, cautious of the dangers that might still lurk beyond their walls. They had developed a rhythm, an unspoken understanding. Each morning she would prepare a small breakfast, humming softly as Kai repaired broken machines or read quietly. Each evening she would curl up beside him in the bed, the warmth of her body mingling with his, a pulse of life that reminded him of everything they had endured together. The bond they shared had grown deeper than either could have imagined, filled with trust, care, and a profound sense of companionship. One rainy evening, as the world outside shimmered with reflections from streetlights, the alien girl looked at Kai with her wide, luminous eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. "Not just from them, from fear, from loneliness, from myself." Kai smiled softly, brushing a strand of glowing hair from her face. "I didn't save you," he said gently. "You allowed me to help. You trusted me when you didn't have to. That trust, that is what makes all the difference." Her glow pulsed slightly brighter, steady, and warm. She leaned closer, resting her head against his shoulder. "I've never felt this safe, cared for, alive," she admitted. "You've taught me something I never thought I could feel." Kai held her tightly, feeling the pulse of her warmth against him. "And you've taught me too," he said. "That courage isn't about fighting or running, it's about protecting, trusting, and caring. That's the truest kind of strength. That's human strength." For the first time she smiled fully, her glowing eyes reflecting relief, joy, and wonder. She shifted slightly, her small hand resting against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. In that moment, neither words nor explanations were necessary. Their connection was complete, an unbroken chain of trust, warmth, and understanding. Kai looked at her, truly seeing her for who she was, fragile yet strong, alien yet deeply familiar, a being who had survived countless dangers and still held on to hope. And he knew that in protecting her, he had discovered a courage and a love that transcended species, worlds, and fear. The night passed slowly. Rain fell gently outside, but inside the apartment was filled with quiet life and contentment. She slept curled against him, her glow steady, a living testament to survival and trust. Kai watched her, feeling a deep, almost sacred responsibility to protect her always. But more than that, he felt gratitude, grateful for her presence, for her trust, and for the quiet miracle of finding a connection that neither time nor fear could destroy. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The alien girl thrived, her strength growing under Kai's care. She began exploring more of the settlement in secret, testing her abilities in subtle ways, always returning to him, always seeking his warmth and reassurance. The bond they shared had become unshakable, a perfect balance of trust and care. One evening, as they sat together watching the stars, she whispered, "I never imagined that I could belong somewhere, that I could feel this safe, this loved." Kai smiled, gently holding her hand. "You do belong," he said, "here with me, and I'll never let that go. No matter what happens, you're not alone anymore." She leaned her head on his shoulder, her glow blending with the soft starlight. "I've learned. Humans are stronger than I thought," she said quietly, "not because of their strength, but because of their heart." Kai nodded, feeling tears prick his eyes. "Yes," he whispered. "And that heart can protect, can care, and can change lives. You've shown me that too." In that quiet moment, with the stars above and the warmth of their shared presence surrounding them, Kai and the alien girl knew something undeniable. They had found more than safety, more than survival. They had found trust, love, and the quiet triumph of humanity. She had kept her secret, but in doing so, she had revealed something far greater to him: the power of connection, courage, and heart. And as the night deepened, the warmth of the bed, their hands and their hearts blended into one. In a universe that often seemed cold and unkind, They had created a sanctuary, a bond stronger than fear, stronger than danger, and stronger than time itself. Together they were unstoppable, not because of weapons or strength, but because of something far more enduring, the human spirit, and the choice to protect and care for another, no matter the cost. And in that sanctuary, in the quiet of the night, both Kai and the alien girl finally understood. They were home,